Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Legends of Tomorrow episode 12 video, just to kind of tell some of the beats that they were going for. Like, they wanted to take the opportunity to show young Quentin Lance, like, haha, he has hair again. He doesn't know about any of the Green Arrow craziness that's going to be happening in a couple years. Heatwave gets the same moment with his younger self that Captain Cold got in an earlier episode, like, hey listen kid, take care of yourself. I feel like the actors are actually doing a much greater job with some of these emotional beats, but some of the emotional moments are still a little unearned. Like, we didn't know anything about Jax's dad dying till the beginning of the episode. We probably should have learned about that a long time ago. So let's do top 5 WTF, and I'll talk about comic book Easter eggs as we go along. So number 5, come with me if you want to live. They grab young Heatwave with a nice Terminator reference. I think Heatwave ended up being the funniest character in this episode. So much eye-winking to his younger self. You sure you want to leave your younger self in there with young me? So actually number 4 WTF, younger Quentin Lance in Starling City. So this is right before the Queen's Gambit goes down. So there's like a douchebag Oliver wig running around somewhere causing all kinds of trouble, sleeping with Sarah behind Laurel's back. So all that awesomeness is getting ready to happen. But the funniest Sarah moment though was when she went in to stop the fight between her younger self and Heatwave's young self. Next time you slap him, use an open palm, and she's not your type. Most of you probably caught that, but if you didn't catch that joke, it's just because that version of Sarah had not realized that she was a lesbian. She hadn't really come to terms with that yet. And if you want to be specific, you could say she's bisexual. But yeah, not your type, buddy. Number 3 WTF, meet young Rip Hunter, stabby street urchin. So what he meant by that is that he just grew up on the streets. I don't know if they're ever going to address the idea that he's the son of Booster Gold. Usually the TV shows are pretty true to the characters' backstories from the comics, even if they can't do certain characters that are big parts of that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the TV show wasn't able to do Booster Gold. I mean, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that they do at some point. But in the comics, Rip Comics, like, they haven't trampled over Booster Gold yet. But they kind of use that to explain how the Time Masters recruit is not a character from the comics. Number 2 WTF, meet the Pilgrim. So Pilgrim is a character from the Wildstorm universe, which technically got folded into the main DC canon after Flashpoint, but the problem is this episode does nothing to reference anything about her backstory, only that she is called Pilgrim, which is why I think the Time Masters just kind of plucked her from the time of the Pilgrims, and that's why they call her Pilgrim, because she was born a Pilgrim. So if it wasn't clear, the Time Masters will derp the timeline, they'll just pluck them and put them in the Time Masters Academy. The orphanage was box, but number 1 WTF is the team versus the Pilgrim. So you can kind of tell they wanted to get to this moment in the episode. So that's why they teased the Pilgrim's abilities earlier in the episode, you know, where she can locally stop time. Like, she has tactile control over time within a certain small sphere around herself. So that's why she keeps spinning around here. But it was a funny moment. Like, oh, you thought I was a little kid, but I'm gonna stab the shit out of you. Let me know what your favorite moment from the episode was. I mean, there were some nice emotional moments like Heatwave had with his younger son, like, look dude, do not turn into me. All the craziness that's going to be happening to you in a couple years. You're going to lose your hair, you're going to run around the city for a couple years chasing down the vigilante, only to find out that he's Oliver Queen, and both of your daughters are going to die. One of them more than once. Even if you haven't been watching Arrow for the last couple years, it was still a funny moment. But you get the idea. Like, it helps if you watch Arrow and The Flash, because these personal moments just wind up being so much funnier. So if there's ever a case to be made for watching all 3 shows, but a lot of the references and jokes are also internal to the series. Like, they'll be making a joke about something that happened a couple years ago on Arrow, like the Queen's Gambit and Lian Yu. You wouldn't know about that if you didn't watch Arrow. So the big news is that next week on Legends of Tomorrow, we're going to meet Vandal Savage's daughter. In the comics, he has 2 daughters. I think the TV show is just combining them into a single character. And if you haven't been reading the Superman comics lately, like just this year, they did this big Vandal Savage storyline that involved a bunch of his children. So there was this big arc where he steals Superman's powers. He tries to use the meteor that originally gave him his powers and his immortality to supercharge himself. But that was all leading up into like a big reboot. So like right now they've just rebooted the Superman comics. So it's a little confusing if you try to pick it up cold turkey. But it's just nice that they're doing Vandal Savage on Legends of Tomorrow, and they just used him in a big comic book storyline with Superman. So the big news is this weekend Game of Thrones is starting. There's a bunch of other stuff happening. Being on a Game of Thrones refresher video for season 6, just for all the important stuff you need to know. So be sure to subscribe to get that. That's probably going to be the first video that I post tomorrow. While you guys wait for me to post that, I did a big Zoom explainer for The Flash. I know it was really confusing this week. You can click here to learn all about that, and you can click here for my Gotham Azrael trailer video. They just introduced the Azrael character from the comics, so pretty big deal. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.